Okay, take two. A lot of second takes lately. I don't know what's up with that. For those not in the know, every single one of these you've ever seen has been pretty much just me shooting it live. I rarely even do second takes on shit. And, like, a lot of you guys be like, well, we really wish you would. Well, like, in reality, I think it's shitty to fucking edit out a sneeze or something like that. That's a lot of work for no reason. Point of this video. So, I said in the past, if I could only own one gun, it'd probably be this 1911, right? This is Crom, or Sally. The question for this video, however, is, of all the guns I've ever sold, handgun-wise, which one would I want back or take forever or whatever? Which one do I miss, basically? So I'm going to walk you through the journey that brought us to Crom, because it's not that long, really. I wanted a combat quality handgun. I didn't really know what to get. So I went researching, and the first thing I ever got was a Gen 2 Glock 17, and a Nagant revolver, and a Walther P38 that was a P1, actually. All on the same day. The P1 my grandfather bought, and I just got to play with, and I had to give back. But, like, I had that gun for a couple of months and just got to fuck with it. That was awesome. Like, my grandfather knew what he was doing, in a way. Like, a P38's probably a pretty good gun just to let a kid fuck with. It's, you know, one of the best guns of World War II. Anyway, from there, I bought that Glock because I had shotguns with my uncle Brent, and he had a Glock and a SIG, and I liked both of those. And the thing that I liked most was the high cap magazines that he had, and he had them for a SIG and a Glock. So I wanted that. And the cheapest way to get that was a Glock. Okay. But pretty much as soon as I had the Glock and shot the Glock, I kind of got used to it or whatever. And then I was like, I really want a SIG. And I wanted to have a Glock and a SIG. Because, like, I don't know. I had this, like, crazy idea in my head that I was going to be collecting guns for forever. We'll get there. So, this resulted in a series of SIGs bought at gun shows. And it started out with, which one was first? Yeah, I found a SIG 229 in 40 cal with 3 magazines and night sights in the box for $400 at a gun show. And then I found a 357 SIG barrel for it for $100. And my grandfather actually bought that for me. He said, good score, and we were out walking around the gun show, and I said, and you can drop this barrel into it, and it's only $100, and then you get to shoot this whole second caliber. And he was like, that's dope. How much? 100? And he pulled out a $100 bill and gave it to the guy and, like, threw it in my fucking bag of shit. He's like, any pistol that can shoot multiple rounds is fucking worth having. I was like, that's, you know, I agree. Especially for $400. And I did eventually sell that pistol later, but we'll get, you know, that doesn't matter. I sold that pistol, though, because I didn't really like 40 cal. I liked 357 SIG, but it was expensive and whatever. And, like, that gun just, there's a reason that I scored that cheap. But I got a really, really nice gun for $400. So that was my first taste into SIGs. After that, I still had that gun and the Glock, because at this point, I was collecting, right? I was working at AMC theaters, working a couple of other things under the table at places, and working gun shows with my grandfather, and just taking all of that fucking money and squirreling it away into guns. Living like a fucking hermit. So one thing you'll get to know about Blazer and I, both of us are basically fucking hermits. we're the types of guys that, like, we think it'd be cool to live in a fucking cabin with a wood stove. Okay? So, like, we don't need a lot. Anyway, decided to get a 45. I went looking around and found a SIG P220. I think it was $500, and it was two-tone. Standard sights, though, but it was a cool gun, and it was my fucking, that was my Mac Daddy pistol for a long time. Like, I carried the fucking P220 because it was two-toned for a very, very long time. Like, it was 2 or 3 years there. When I say carried, like, it was my, like, bedside defensive gun. This was before I had a carry permit because I was, like, 7-year-old. That was me editing for fucking government, but, like, I was young. I was young enough that I had a fucking two-tone SIG 2220 and a roll of cash like this sitting next to a cat on, like, a fucking, like, bed in a kid's room. Everybody has a, style. My conclusion from this, now that I had a 9, a 40, and a 45, I was like, well, really the thing that I want is the thing that I should have spent money on in the first place, which is the P226. And I was like, in reality, fucking $400 on that Glock, $400 on that SIG, and $500 on the second SIG, I could have bought a 226. I didn't sell those and get that. I just saved up more money and bought a 226. I got the Navy Special Edition. This was one of the first handguns I ever got via 4473. And technically, it was my grandfather that bought it. So, again, I was young. It was his gun for a while. And that was the thing, is I was like, would you buy this for me? And I will get that in a year and a half. He's like, yeah. It's like, in the meantime, I get to play with $1,000 SIG every night for a year and a half. I'm like, yeah, that's your prize, isn't it? It's like, it's a pretty good prize. It's like, I know I'm going to be seeing you visiting a lot. Like, I already did anyway, so, like, I don't know. But when we did that, I also got a cheap Mauser broom handle that same shop had. It was a $400 Mauser broom handle that looked like it had been to China and back. It worked, but just barely. And I played with it and tried to get it to work better. Got a bunch of accessories for it and made a whole little kit for it, and just didn't like it. I had the stock and a, like, British locking fucking breakdown case thing to keep it in, and, like, I really went to the nines with it, and ended up just not liking it at all, basically, and selling it. And I sold it in Springfield, Missouri at a gun show in college, and when I did that shit, my $400 broom handle and the little box of accessories that I had to go with it, which was about $1,000 worth of shit, really, I got $2,500 for that at a gun show in Springfield, Missouri. That shit was not worth that. That gun looked like it had been a sewer pipe. I don't know. It's one of those things, like, different markets. That was a gun that you didn't ever see at a gun show in fucking Springfield, Missouri, apparently. Kind of thing that, was rare around there, that, like, seeing that in Tulsa was not a big deal, I guess. That was a big culture shock, too. Going from gun shows in Tulsa to gun shows in Springfield. That's a whole different video topic, really. Someone comment so I remember to do a video on that. Because that's a really, really good topic. So, where were we? We were at the P226. Those were pretty much the guns that I had before I went to college, handgun wise. When I was up there in college, we went crazy. I was doing review videos and was trading guns to do review videos. And if you watch any of those old reviews, I was actually shooting those guns. I was a broke college student, and I was spending all of my extra money that I didn't have. I wasn't spending on like takeout food on ammo to go shooting. There were a couple ranges that were really close to fucking Springfield, particularly close to my house even. As a result of that, though, many of those guns got traded off for other things. The 226, that didn't get gone until I needed a Browning automatic rifle, basically. Or at least I had the opportunity to make it happen to get one. And it was like, once you have it, fuck everything else. We'll get the rest of the collection slow again. You know, we go make money at gun shows. Like, that used to be my thing. It's kind of not been here lately just because, like, everything that I fucking do is illegal according to the federal government. That's a whole fucking bitch. But so I lost the 226 there. And that was, you can go back and look at those videos. I did that like 2012. When I restarted the collection there, I had the Browning automatic rifle, a Ruger 1022 takedown, and a Remington R1 1911, which I wish I had that gun back too. And I was carrying 1911 then, mainly just because I wanted one of those Remingtons, and that was just the first thing I bought, and I needed a handgun. And the next things that I bought were a Keltec P3AT used at a gun show for $175, and a fucking I think it was an Alpine M1 carbine and a paratrooper stock, if I remember, for like another $400 at that same show. And I didn't keep that very long, but when I bought that, I was like, fuck, I need a fucking rifle. Now I got a carbine and a fucking BAR. Because really, a BAR is kind of a big, heavy gun to do a lot of shit with. And I ended up modifying the fuck out of that carbine. I blank adapted it and sold it to fucking... in college, I was hanging out with reenactors. And the Browning automatic rifle just got me instant street cred, as you might imagine. And I blank adapted that carbine and sold it to them. Again, that's one of those like $400 in Tulsa. I did $50 worth of work to it and then flipped it in fucking Springfield for big money. You know, that's all like, when I say that, you'd be like, oh, well, that's illegal or whatever. Well, I had that gun for several months, if not a year. Okay, like I made it mine, I used it, I did whatever. And then the things that I happen to do to the gun, people like and they pay for. Okay, that's always been my kind of deal with the whole thing. Is I really use everything I get. I buy a lot of guns. I sell a lot of guns. I was reviewing them on YouTube. That was my excuse. You know? It was my excuse to spend all that money anyway. So, I don't know. I'm kind of going through the carry guns and just guns I bought that I liked early on. Because to that point, there's, not that many. There's guns I didn't mention that I didn't like. I had a couple single actions in there that I didn't like. I had a couple 1911s in there I didn't like. So we're making like a short list of the guns that I bought that I sold that I liked. Past that Remington, I did buy a Walther PPQ. I liked that gun. I sold that to one of my best friends. One of my best friends is Carl Bosslang. Runs Bosslang's Knife Shop. He's probably dead by now. He was ancient when I knew him. And he did Tulsa gun shows selling knives. And I ended up hanging out with him a lot because I was stuck at the gun show with my grandfather. And, you know, you can only watch a gun show table for so long. And you're a kid stuck there with little to no money. Yeah, this is basically, I started scrounging like all week long or all month long, really, to have money for the gun show. And then eventually I started scrounging for cash for the gun show and stuff to sell at the gun show. And this is where, like, really, I ought to start doing gun shows again. Not do guns, like just do a junk table. Maybe junk and knives or something, and gun accessories. Like, I call junk, the stuff that I have on my junk table, I had a spot there in Wanamaker that I think we don't have anymore. It was a family thing where, like, we had that table for forever, and we just kept, one of us would pay for it. I think we let that go. But when we had that spot, every fucking year, like, about 3 dozen guys would show up just to look through the fucking, like, junk on my table. Because you never knew what you were going to find there for fucking $20. And, you know, some of that is, I just need to get rid of shit. And it's one of those, like, I didn't pay I didn't pay $20 for it, put it that way. And the other thing that I specialized in was, I found rare shit, and I had rare expensive shit mixed in with good deals. So, like, if it's a cheap thing out there, I don't ever bother charging full price. If you can go to Academy and get it, like, it's half price or less. If it's Army surplus shit, I do that on an item-by-item basis based on how much I have in it usually. And then the high-end stuff, I price that shit to make money. But if I'm pricing stuff like that, it's because it's truly a fucking unicorn tier. I had a magazine for one of those 12-gauge pistol grip magazine fed shotgun things that I can't think of the name of. Iraq veteran and Military Arms Channel did videos on those things. I found a magazine for one. And I threw it on the table for, I think it was like $250 at Wanamaker. And I saw a guy holding up one of those shotguns as I was walking by, and I was like, hey, is that your gun? He's like, yeah. Like, do you want an extra magazine for it? And he's like, well, that would depend on price, but probably fuck yeah. So I had $250 on it, and he came over and looked at it, and we kind of horse traded back and forth a little bit, and worked out that I got a like $100 and a dummy Thompson. And it was a good deal on that dummy Thompson. Like, it was one of the IMA aluminum receiver ones, and, like, dude, I scored on that thing. I didn't realize it at the time. I ended up actually, I helped out a buddy of mine, the staff sergeant that was Ranger qualified and all that shit, that did the Vietnam reenacting thing at my college. I traded it to him for some stuff, and it was a part of a deal, and I don't know what his dollar value on that Thompson was, but the thing was worth like $1,200, and I got it for like free. So when it came time to trade it off to him, like, I got money out of it, but I didn't get $1,200 out of it. It was one of those, like, I showed it to him, and I'm like, this thing's fucking dope. And he's like, oh, holy shit, you know what these are worth? And, like, he knew what it was and what it was worth and told me. At that point, I'm like, would you want to buy it? Do you think that's worth that? He's like, oh, fuck yeah, like, how much would you want? I'm like, well, considering you just told me that, you know, I don't know, probably less than that for you. And I think we came to, like, we were working on a deal for an XM177 E2 upper and a bag of Colt AR-15 mags that were 20 rounders. And it was a part of that, but I don't remember the details of the deal. Anywho, gun show shit an aside, past the Walther PPQ, though, there's not too many that I regret selling. I know that's, you know, shitty or whatever, but, like, I think those are the guns that were in the realm of, hey, if I had kept any of these, which one would it have been? Because, like, it's, what, the Glock 17, I'll get to that in a second. I just thought about the other Glocks. The few SIGs I had, the Remington R1 1911, the Walther PPQ, and the other Glocks that I had a bunch of different Glocks, and the Glock 30S I regret selling. No, actually, that might be the one. I've almost bought that gun like 6 different times since I've sold that gun. The Glock 30S is basically a Glock 19 sized pistol that shoots 45 ACP and has 10 round mags. My thoughts are on that gun is, as a gun to carry in California or New York or anywhere, it being 10 rounds even is cool, and 10 rounds of 45 is enough. I think it's a dope package. That might be the answer. It's we'll think on it. But the other Glocks are like the Glock 26s and the Glock 19s. I had a bunch of both of those because basically I'd buy one and get bored and need money for something else, and it was like, oh well, we already have other Glocks, so let's get rid of a Glock. I'm a compulsive gun buyer, I guess. I have an addiction. I can't fucking stop buying guns. I liked Matt and Yankee because basically they suffered under the same addiction as me. And like, all three of us had different levels of income basically, but yet all of us managed to like spend every fucking dime that we didn't have to spend on something else, on like watching movies and fucking guns. Gun Addicts Anonymous. Well, all the rest of the guns that I would be like, oh, what about those? Well, there's a bunch of HKs. I would never mention them in this video. There's like Canics, but I'm not going to do a Canic for this, so it doesn't matter. You know, all the rest of the shit is kind of stuff that I'm not really that interested in. There are FNs, there are a couple other SIGs, but like the ones that I'd want back are the ones that I mentioned already. So if it's going to be a SIG, I really think it's that the Glock 30S. The Glock 30S is really one of the coolest guns on the market. The slide on that 45 is as skinny as a 9mm. That's what's cool about it. I also had a Nibex G19. The two-tone guns are pretty appealing to me. I would hate to pick a Glock. Sorry, I'm hearing noises in the other room. So, we're loading old Sally for the moment. The cat's sitting here with me, and I'm not sure what that noise was. Basically, I think in my head now, unless I can think of some other guns that I fucking might have in the running for this, I think it's basically Walther PPQ versus that G19 Nibex versus the Glock 30S versus the SIG 226 Navy Special Edition. I don't know which of those would be it. The Navy Special Edition, I hope to inherit someday. Let's put it that way. She's safe. My one of my uncles, the SIG fan that had me shoot it when I went to sell that thing to get the BAR. He wanted to upgrade his SIG, so he traded me out. He had a West German, and he added cash, and he got a really good deal on that gun, but I also know that I could get it back at some point, maybe. So, his old West German SIG, I actually debated keeping as my one gun, because I was going to keep a pistol, right, to defend myself with when I got the BAR, and I ended up doing the Remington R1 because it had just come out, and I wanted it, and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, so with those four in mind, and maybe that Remington R1, but I have a Remington R1, so that's kind of out of it, right? Yeah, G19 Nibex, Walther PPQ, SIG 226 Navy, and Glock 30S. Those would be, if I could pick guns from my past to own again, those would be the four. If I could pick one, it'd probably be that 226 Navy. If I could, but like, honestly, like I said, that G30S, I think is just a cool gun. There's a final four for you, though, and, you know, I guess a top two as well. The CCP and the, not CCP, the Walther PPQ. Damn, too many fucking Walther's names suck. And the G19 Nibex are both really, really good guns. Those could be your only gun. But they're just, I don't know. The G19 for me has never been the right gun. I do like the size of it. It is the only compact gun I actually do like, really. That size of what they call compacts. I forgot about the West German P228. I bought a West German P228 shortly after I got that P226 because it was at a gun show. Actually, it was at the same gun show. Yeah. It was at the gun show, and a guy came walking by with it for fucking $450. And I just spent all my money on that other SIG, and I looked at my grandfather, and I'm like, I'm going to make money here in a minute. Can I owe you for a day? He's like, I got you. That's why it was good to have that old man around, because, like, I literally went on and made, like, $3,000 or $4,000 that day, but, like, didn't have the $450 on me at that moment. There's so much that having him standing there fucking with a bankroll made us so much money. Like, I made him money and he made me money, so it was kind of a mutual thing. Because I was, like, young, smart, and obsessed with guns. It's all I fucking looked at, and I was obsessed with the values of guns and the prices of guns. And I went around gun shows as a kid and looked on Gunbroker and read the fucking Blue Book of Guns and just memorized a bunch of shit over time. Anyway. I think it would be the P226. That would have to be my answer, right? Like, my channel used to be P226 Nut, for those not in the know. But my old alias online was Bro1911. So, you know, I've always liked both of those guns. And to be honest, I like the 1911 and the 45 better. You have to have a gun that's made right, but the fact that the Remington is a gun that is, in my opinion, made right, and those guns are now all over the market. Maybe you have to pay a little bit more for them now, but it'd be worth it still. If I was going to get one again, I wouldn't get their commander length because they fucking jacked up the sights on this thing. This is a GI sight, and this is a Novak cut. You can have sights made for this, but you can't just buy them. Yeah. Fucking super geniuses. Don't get the commander size Remingtons. even though they do look cool with their Punisher comps. I did that multi-fold, but basically because I bought the commander size of this because it was at Dong's and available and at a price that I wanted and whatever. And it was perfect. I think it's funny that this gun and this gun came from Dong's. Everybody makes fun of Dong's because of their name. I don't know. Doesn't bother me. So in short, basically, if I had one to pick of all of those, I said it was the Remington R1 1911, which I replaced. But short of that, the P226 and the others I mentioned, they're all good guns. Any gun I mentioned in this, pretty much, unless I said it was a piece of shit, is a good gun. I also bought a Tech 9 in there. Notice we didn't talk about that. Bonus for anyone who stayed this long. Don't buy Tech 9s. They look cool. I know, I've seen Big Trouble in Little China too. Basically, if you're going to have that kind of a gun, get something like this. This is reliable and does what that gun was doing, basically. My plan is to point from the hip and just blast like fucking, what's his name? The Pork Chop Express. Jack Burton. Just like Jack Burton. I'll see you guys later. I'm sure somebody found this interesting. Honestly, if I was going to go out and buy pistols right now, this is the short list that I'd be looking at. If you gave me unlimited funds and I could do 4473s for them and all of that shit. And when I say you can do 4473s for them, there's a whole bunch of people in this country that for whatever reason might not want to do a 4473. Maybe they think the federal government's out to get them. If you can't do that, go to a gun show and just see whatever walks in the door. Take what you can get. See you later.